Hi, you're listening to The Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves. Fair warning, this podcast may contain adult content. It may not. I don't know. I never really have a plan. So let's listen on and find out. Hello and welcome to episode 45 of The Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves. And this week my guest is the very lovely Harry Stachini. I met him many years ago. We briefly talk about it in the podcast, but it's at a gig where we both did well in adverse situations because we were supposed to be doing like tryout middle spots, and the opener, who's being paid a professional wage, didn't turn up. He went to the wrong gig, so he ended up doing a middle spot. We opened. I went first, Harry went after. We had a cracking opening section. We didn't get any money. We didn't get booked again. So nice. That's comedy for you. We talk about a lot of things. Harry's working as a teacher and has been through the lockdown. A teacher of sorts. You'll hear about it. He works with kids with behavioural issues and that sort of thing. And there's some very funny stories that come from it. Some quite dark humour. But then I think, that's the thing. When you're working in a dark situation, you have to find the humour in it. Otherwise, we'll just lose our minds. Oh, just for the sake of context, we talk about Harry's tangerine at one point, and there was a bit previously where we mentioned the fact that he was holding his microphone during the record, so he couldn't peel his tangerine. That's what we're talking about. He was holding his microphone because I've removed that bit from the start. He talks about making documentaries and what essentially was a waste of time, but it wasn't. It sounds like it's really interesting. It's a real shame that that's not coming out. Hopefully, one day that guy will turn around and change his mind about not wanting it to come out, because I think I'd quite like to see that. It sounds like he's working on some really interesting projects. There's a TV show that he's writing. Did he say he's doing it as a TV show? I think so. He's writing a script anyway. I don't know if it's for a film or a TV show. He probably said, and I've probably just forgotten. But it sounds incredible. Like, absolutely amazing. So hopefully that comes to fruition. You'll hear about that. Spent quite a lot of time talking about his school work in school, because it's a big thing that he's doing at the minute, and it's also led to the creation of the Staff Room podcast, which, again, you'll hear about it. I don't need to tell you about it now, but I would say that is well worth checking out. It's very, very good indeed. While we're talking about how little kids are impressed by impressive feats these days, because they've all got technology and that sort of thing, we talked briefly about, I think that was the order that we went in, we talked briefly about World War II and prisoners of war, and I mentioned that my granddad was a prisoner of war and he escaped. I got the story wrong a little bit. There was nothing to do with Japan involved whatsoever, but he did escape with a friend, and they made it to a train station where they got caught by the Germans and sent back to the camp. I found this out, gave my dad a shout and asked him what the actual story was. Yeah, so he did escape, and it turns out he was at Stalag 8B in Poland. That led to me finding his prisoner of war number and all sorts. It's amazing. And he was also part of the Long March, which I didn't know was a thing before, and now I do. So I'm gonna do some reading into that. It sounds really interesting. I may talk about that at greater length in the future. Speaking of the Staff Room podcast, I know quite a lot of teachers, and if any of you are listening to this, or if you're just a teacher and you're listening to this, and you've got some sort of funny stories, stuff that you'd love to tell, but you can't for the sake of losing your job. Basically, Harry's podcast is all about telling the stories of teachers, but it's anonymous. It's completely anonymous, and there's some sort of funny stories in there, which again you'll hear Harry talk about, so you'll get sort of an idea of what it is. But if you do want to get in touch and send in a story, then I really think you should for his podcast. You can email at staffroompod@gmail.com. I'll put all the links to these things in the podcast description. Oh, one of my favourite things from the entire podcast as well is that we find out about his secret brother, Michael. It's incredible. And it's right at the end, so you've got to listen through. So there you go. It's a great podcast. It's really fun. I love Harry. He's a lovely bloke, and I look forward to gigging with him again soon. So let's not hang about, shall we? Let's get into the podcast. Enjoy. Hello, mate.
Hi, Si.
How you doing?
My dog has just walked into the room not realise it. The fact my girlfriend's just gone for a run, so he seems a bit lost without her. Yeah, just stay over there, mate. Be all right. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, good man. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah,
Not bad
cool.
at all. I'm on half term at this moment in time.
Yes, I was going to say, 'cause
So
you're a teacher, right?
yeah, well, effectively, I'm a one-to-one, like a learning support.
Oh, okay.
So I work one-to-one with kids that have got like behaviour problems, essentially.
Oh, okay.
My mum and dad were saying to me over the pandemic, like, maybe do your PGCE, and then I was like, there's no chance I'm doing it. So
What's
yeah,
that? Is that teacher thing?
yeah, fully qualified, essentially.
Oh, okay.
I think because the amount of people that I've spoken to who are on the other side of the fence, i.e., fully qualified teachers that are either 10 years into a career, 2 years into it, that are just like, it's not necessarily what they thought it was going to
Yeah.
be. It just makes me think, well, I don't see myself working in schools for forever.
Yeah.
So the amount of time and money it would cost to get yourself into that position, and then on top of that, the hours and potentially stress. I'm just like, I'll give that a swerve.
Yeah. Yeah, I know quite a few people who've started it and then gone, it's not for me.
Yeah,
And like
that's
they've
why
gone through all the qualifications and everything.
Take the mick out of it, but the reason I do my job is because I get to finish at 3. Like, that's the great side of it. It's just I'm out the door. It's like,
and 6
I
weeks
know some
holiday.
yeah, 6 weeks holiday. I get paid throughout the holidays. It's all gravy.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I might look into it. That seems like
TAing. If you've got patience, and I tend to kind of give it to the kids as well, as much as they give it to me.
Yeah.
It's like this was happened a while ago, but some lad called me a loser. He was like, "You're a loser," and I just said, "If you call me that again, I will spend the entire day holding your hand around school, right, and we'll be losers together." And he just shut up like very, very quickly.
That's amazing.
So it's stuff like that where I think because I'm not afraid of getting sacked.
Yeah.
I'm just like, do you know what? If we lose one on a school trip, it's not my fault.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good attitude. That is, I take that. Thing is, I'm not great with authority anyway, so I tend to take that attitude to most things. So if like a boss is a dick, then I won't be afraid to tell them like to shut up, and then chances are they'll end up liking me for it. It's generally how it works.
It's bizarre. And I think every teacher's different. Everyone's got a different style. I rarely flip my lid. But like, whereas the teacher might say, think about how you make other people feel if a student's done something. I'll be like, you're acting like an idiot, And it's like you make yourself unlikable, and if you make yourself unlikable, then no one's going to want to teach you. Then you're going to be really angry at 16, and then probably even worse at 18, and then your future's going to be pretty bleak. And they're just like, all right, okay. I'm like, so maybe just shut up and listen to what I'm telling you, what the other people are, because believe it or not, we're not trying to trip you up,
Yeah.
We're actually trying to help you. But if you're sat there going, oh my god, this is so hard, it was like, you're going to be overdrawn your entire life, okay?
Oh, that's funny. That's brutal, but funny. That is also very true.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the sort of things that I remember being told by teachers when I was in school. And the thing is, when you're a kid, you think you know better, but you don't. That's the so if any children are listening to this, first of all, I don't know why, because you shouldn't be. I've already said a swear word, but you don't know better. That's ultimately what it is.
There's some adults that don't even know better, but
no.
By the way, I don't know if you started this yet.
Oh yeah, the whole thing's staying in. Yeah.
All right, cool. I was speaking to someone recently about the fact that they water things down for kids to a point that I don't think kids find it interesting, right?
Yeah.
And the example that I gave this person was they do a lot on online safety, which I think is great, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. But teachers will use terms like, or just phrases that will say like, there's people out there with bad intentions, right?
Right.
Bad intentions can mean anything, absolutely anything.
Yeah.
As I'm not saying, we need to get, a survivor in who's been molested and be like, tell the class out what happened to you. But I do think by telling kids, there's people out there who find children attractive, right? And will try to sexually exploit them. That there makes your ears prick up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than it just be like, there's people out there with bad intentions. And they do a lot of online safety stuff where the kids, you can see them almost be a bit like, I'm listening to this for the 6th, 7th time.
Yeah.
But they're almost so bored. And I'm not saying you have to terrify them, but just maybe give them an outline of the danger, but specifically, like, it's like saying there's more chance of you getting kidnapped. One, because you're smaller, you can fit in a boot of a car, and two, you're not as strong. So, just be aware at this moment in time, you're prime real estate. So don't walk home on your own, and maybe don't add people online who, you don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the person that I spoke to was like, I can see your point. Maybe just, think about your phrasing. I was like, yeah, obviously I'm not just going to walk in there and be like, right, there's people out there, kids, who, are going to try and snatch you up.
There's nonsense on the loose.
Yeah, nonce is on the loose, exactly. Put your hand up, kids, if you know what the word nonce means. But yeah, I think because when I was a kid, I was spoken to like a 45-year-old man from the age of 9. I don't think it did me any harm, because it wasn't like things were said to scare me. It just made you aware of certain things.
Yeah.
So, when some kids that are like so innocent, and you go, like, you're so easily led, or they're gullible to things, you think that's where people take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So, what way to start the podcast?
Yeah.
Online safety for kids.
And they'll be listening to this online. So,
yeah. God, who is this guy?
He's a comedian, I swear.
Yeah. And he works with kids. Jesus Christ. I do. I'm top goal scorer in year 6. It's great.
Amazing.
That's the only time I get to play football now, is with Key Stage 2. My football days from uni, that was the last time I played with adults. And all the kids say to me, "Sir, can you not hit it so hard?" It's like, I'll be honest, I put like 30% on that, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever go in too hard for a tackle and just sort of kick him across the playing field?
No, there's one lad in particular who he has a real bad attitude and throws his weight around on other people.
Right.
And I don't throw all my weight in on him, but when he goes in on me, like, I stand my ground, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let him bounce
he's kind
off.
of bounced off me a few times, being a bit like, "You can't do that." And it's like, I can, because I've got a lanyard.
Yeah, that is the all-important lanyard. People forget about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is it you do, Sam? I'm interested.
Well, currently I work in Screwfix.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the store.
Yes, yeah.
That place, every time I go in, seems totally magical, for the fact that it's like Argos. You don't know how big the back space is.
Yeah.
In my mind, I see it going like you've got to get on like a little chairlift that almost fires you down the aisles, and then you go and get whatever it is. But what is it like behind the counter?
Oh, it is exactly like that. It's have you ever seen films that involve Santa's Grotto? It's just that there's little we've got elves back there, just making screws, and it's cool. Go back there, you whip them a bit, occasionally make them a tea, keep them sweet, but
it's like a manly Argos screw fix.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you can only go in there if you've got shorts on.
Yeah, the best thing about it is, like you say, nobody knows what's back there. So sometimes you'll be serving someone, because like you'll serve and go and pick their order as well. So you say, "I'll be back in a minute. I'll just go and get that," and you just go and walk off. The warehouse isn't that big. Just go on your phone for a minute, have a little chat.
Yeah, we've not got that.
Yeah, they've got no idea how far into the warehouse you've gone.
Do you ever get any like really shirty customers?
Yeah. I had one yesterday actually, because when you're collecting an order, if they've paid by PayPal, we need to check their ID. And yesterday a woman was coming in, and I said, "Oh, you need the ID for this address." And she was like, "I ain't got it." I was like, "Well, you need it." She's like, "But no one's asked me before." I was like, "Well, they should have, and they would have."
Yeah.
Like, you're like, and she was just kicking off, and she's like, "No, you give me the effing order." And I was like, "No," and I was like, I'll lose my job and potentially get fined. And she's like, "Well, you won't." I was like, I definitely will, actually. It's very corporate, is Screwfix.
Really?
I quite like that nature of it, yeah. It's all like everything that is beyond my reach is out of my hands, so there's nothing I can do about it. So it's quite nice to be able to say, like, "Oh, well,
I mean it. Yeah, I literally can't do anything.
Yeah.
That's yeah. That, I suppose there's freedom in that.
Yeah, it's nice.
I worked in customer service briefly on a call centre desk, and oh yeah, mate. This is what I mean. I'd rather work with kids because, in a sense, it's a shorter day, okay, and there's a playtime in between. But customers, when they're kicking off, I was just like, I don't care enough, to have you scream at me about the fact your toilet's blocked,
Yeah.
okay, and that you need someone out to it. And in the end, the blockage was actually on the road rather than on it was a petrol station. So
right.
essentially some guy rang me saying my petrol station toilet blocked. I was like, right, someone's been round. It's actually the highway agency who need to look at it. And then he rang me again and was like, no, you need to do it. And I was like, well, I'm not the highway agency. So, we're kind of we're at an end here. We can't go any further.
Yeah.
And then like 45 minutes later, my manager spoke to him. I've not hung up. We were on the phone for 45 minutes. Right?
Really?
Yeah. He's a proper dick. His name's Gary. What's his name? Gary. He manages like 6 Shell sites in the Midlands, and I've thought about driving a car through the shop and hitting him. He's a proper dickhead. But he spoke to my manager, and she said the exact same thing I've said, and then he was like, "All right, okay, no worries." And it was just like that, getting that higher level of approval, just to make sure that I wasn't fobbing him off.
Yeah.
But then there was no apology, nothing like that. But he probably took it out on his kids when he got home. That's the way I look at it.
That's I have that as well. Is people are asked to speak to a manager, and they'll tell you exactly the same as I did, and then they'll say, "Oh, I want to speak to someone higher," so I'll go and get them, and they'll say something verbatim, and they'll go, "All right,
yeah, exactly, just fob it off."
Yeah, like if I just told them I was a manager, they'd go, "Oh, okay." Do you know what I mean? But then I don't want to get done for fraud.
Yeah,
in case that's a concern.
But yeah, I've got the tea bag she sent me. What are you rocking at this moment in time? Have you got a brew on the go?
I have, yeah. I've got. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this, and I've had it on the podcast a few times. People have pronounced it differently. I'm going to say Rooibos.
Is that a centre half for some Russian side?
That is some know it as a Rooibos.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Rooibos.
Yeah.
I had Damo Clark on here, and he kept pronouncing it Rooibos, and I now confidently say Rooibos because of him. So
Rooibos. Well,
yeah.
I foolishly threw away the wrapper of mine, but I tell you what, I've got a little tag on the end here because this is. I sent you a picture of me brew, didn't I?
You
while
did.
It was brewing, saying this is a whole new world to me because I'm not really a tea type of guy, but I'm open to trying new things, and I like the fact that you've got the little bit of string. To my understanding, you kind of loop that around the handle.
That's it. Right? Yeah.
See, I'm, this is not my first rodeo, but I've got tea pigs and
nice.
The lemon and ginger is the flavour.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's very good. Usually, I'm a coffee man.
Yeah,
but, I'm enjoying the lemon and ginger.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about herbal teas is people that say they don't like tea have just had like English breakfast, and they're mental anyway because English breakfast tea is delightful. But there's a whole world of tea out there that people just aren't experiencing. And
I know you got to get loose with it, like the leaf, But the the bit that got me with this is the lemon and ginger. I just thought of a stir fry, and that's while I'm drinking it. That's like the flavors that are kind of coming back to me. It's some Oriental smokiness.
Yeah, there's one that I had on. I've had it a few times on here, but I had it with Cole Donnelly on the first episode, and it's a turmeric tea from Twinings, and we decided that it tasted like a Christmas ramen. Like,
right, okay, that's
combined the flavors,
like the spice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it combined the flavors of ramen and Christmas, and therefore it's a Christmas ramen. And if you tried it with that in mind, you would go, "That is a Christmas ramen." It's very much.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as a Christmas ramen. But...
There's not, but
there's not. Right?
No, they've made it. They've made it in the form of a turmeric tea.
So where did the idea come from then to get the podcast with comedians in tea?
Well, I wanted to have a podcast because I just wanted an outlet and a reason to talk to loads of comedians and other people. I've had like actors and a taxidermy dealer who's a friend of mine, but is a great improviser as well. Sort of musicians, that sort of thing. But yeah, I just wanted to have a podcast, have an outlet, so more people would know who I was largely, and. I like tea, and I wanted an angle for the podcast. And I just finished watching the last series of comedians in cars getting coffee, and I was like, I can do the British version of that. And here we are.
Yeah, except we're not in a car. You're on a sofa, and I'm on a desk chair, but we're still doing it.
Yeah, much more comfortable.
Yeah. I like the. Is it you sat in your lounge?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some nice neutral tones going on.
Yeah. It's quite a relaxed sort of vibe in here.
Oh yeah,
it's nice.
Whereabouts do you live?
Well, I'll say Southend, because
Southend.
yeah,
Right, yeah, we don't want people showing up.
no, just if I tell you where it is, then you'll go, "Where's that?" And then I'll have to say Southend anyway.
Right, because I believe me and you met at a Spiky Mike gig, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the first time was that it's a House of Comedy, was it? No, it wasn't House of Comedy. It was
For Trevor.
Trevor. What's his name?
For
And
some reason, I'm thinking it was in the Midlands, but maybe it wasn't.
it could have been. Well, it's like Peterborough way.
Right, okay.
So yeah, sort of in that direction.
A few years ago, though.
It was a few years ago. Yeah, a good few years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, because I was thinking about this. Well, I think about it all the time, actually, because this is a classic gig booking situation. Because the opening act for that gig they went to the wrong gig, and I ended up having to open. Like, we moved the middle section to the start, and then
Right.
you and I went first, and I opened, and I did quite well. And he's never booked me since.
That's the world of comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can
classic.
have like an okay gig, and it's like, yeah, you storm that, and
Yeah,
then you have
yeah.
an absolute stormer, and it's like, yeah, we need to see more.
Yeah.
Not quite got over the line there.
Or in his case, had an absolute stormer, and he went, no.
Yeah, no,
okay.
not at all.
Yeah.
You're never coming back.
I saved your ass.
I can't even remember the promoter, so they didn't invite me back either.
No.
We must have just totally, shat all over the opening section of the
Yeah,
show.
yeah. We had a good time. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And now we are drinking tea and chatting.
Yeah, lovely. Because I'm trying to think, because we've only gigged together like a handful of times, if that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, I
Not
think,
many.
did you do Jacob Hawley's gig? There was like a fundraiser that he was doing.
No, I never. I've gigged with Jacob. I've not gigged for Jacob. Though. He's a nice guy, though, Jacob. I like him.
Yeah, lovely guy.
I watched his show, Falaraki.
Yeah,
very good.
He's coming on here at some point.
He's a dad now, isn't he?
He is. Yeah. Busy lad.
Yeah. Off the back of Edinburgh. I'm not overly close with Jacob, but friendly with him. And when I watched his show in Edinburgh, we did Falaraki. There was no like mention at all that he was, a dad to be, because it seemed literally months after Edinburgh his baby girl was born. Is it? What's it like where you are weather-wise? Because
I was going to ask you actually.
I'm recording this in my office, and it is warm, very warm today.
I for some reason, and I'm sure it wasn't the case last year, but my upstairs is much warmer than downstairs, so I'm actually in a reasonable temperature, but it is quite hot out. I'm wearing shorts.
Nice. That's some good dexterity there, getting that leg up that high.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've only got about a foot of space in front of me as well, so I don't know how I did that. I may suffer as a result of that later on.
Well, have you spoken to a lot of comedians about lockdown and stuff like that? Like, I don't want to talk about the stuff that you've had on previously. So.
No, well, it's different for everyone, isn't it? Well, is it? Because a lot of the time with comedians, it's what you've been up to. Not a lot. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you've been teaching, I assume.
Yeah, I was in work pretty much like as of normal. The first lockdown, I was at 1 day a week, and I was losing my mind a bit when that was happening, because essentially just before COVID, I was going to quit my job and go on to do comedy full time.
Yeah.
And then, when that wasn't the case, I was like, all right, okay. And I realised people lost relatives and stuff like that, so I can empathise. But at the same time, I did lose a dream, people. Okay, so I can tell you which one's more fun. Okay. But as time's gone on, like things have started to look a little bit more hopeful, which is good. But I lost my mind in the first lockdown around June, and I was just like getting a bit of cabin fever, so I had to start reading. I read a book on World War II POWs that were in a Japanese camp, and immediately I thought things aren't that bad. You know what I mean? It's like these fellas are fighting off like dysentery, starvation, and I was sat in 25-degree heat in Salford, wafting away a bee.
Yeah.
So I realised, I can't really bitch and moan. And then from that point on, I was writing every day. So like I was.
Oh yeah.
And like when I'm writing, I'm writing. So I do about 2 to 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Just pulling apart sets or writing scripts, and I had like 3 things on the go, but kind of rotated so I wasn't getting bored. That's an orange, by the way, just so you're like, what's he got in his hand? Is that a stress ball? How's he coping? It's just a tangerine.
Are you using it as a stress ball?
I was going to eat it, and then when we started, I thought, well, I can't peel it while we're chatting.
You would struggle.
That would be really impressive. Imagine if I had toes long enough to do it. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, I could do it. I got hands free, as previously discussed.
I'll pass it through the webcam. But yeah, I was writing a lot, and then I think the biggest disappointment throughout the whole COVID thing for me, really selfishly, was I'd started making a documentary, right, which was about a guy that I knew who lost his eyesight when he was 14.
Wow.
And he his life went completely off the rails, and he's 22 now, and he's at college. He's at university in Liverpool. He does psychology and nutrition, and he's very much kind of got his life back on track. And he had a very eventful 7 years.
Yeah.
7-year time period. And I was documenting that within like a 10-minute short. And the guy that I was doing it about was so keen for it all the way throughout the project. He'd seen snippets of it. He really liked it. And editing is quite a time consuming, process. So I think all in, I must have banked well over 100 hours on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, a good chunk of time. And then, around October time, he basically just got cold feet and was like, I don't think I want the film going out.
No.
And I'd had him sign a disclosure form and a release form. So effectively, legally, I could do it. But morally, I was a bit like, if there was money on the line, it might be a harder decision to make. But I thought, this is the first thing I'm putting out as an independent, so I won't want it to go out on a note that is tarnished in a sense, because if it got a decent amount of attraction and then they found out that, the person that it's actually about didn't want it released, I would just look an absolute swine. I just thought, the only thing I'm going to lose is the time, but at the same time, I was doing Sweet FA anyway, if I wasn't doing that. So it was a tough pill to swallow for about 2-3 days. And then, after that, I was like, right, what can I do? And that's when I set up my podcast. So,
nice.
Yeah, I've not had a bad 2020 or 2021. If anything, things are starting to. Feels like there's a lot of hope in the air. That's what I think.
Yeah,
anyway.
It really does.
So I'm in a buoyant mood most days, and I'm rarely someone that kind of mopes about unless it's before I start reading books about POWs.
Yeah, that'll do it. I think my granddad was in a prisoner of war camp in Japan.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. Or
that's insane.
He escaped and he got to a. Now I think I mistell this story because I asked my dad about it a little while ago and he corrected me. But I'm sure he escaped from the prisoner of war camp and got to a train station and got picked up there.
Wow. So but this is in Japan.
I think either he was.
I didn't know the British fought in Japan.
No, well, either he got to. There was Japanese people involved. I know that much.
Oh, you'll have to find that out because I love stuff like that. There's a teacher at my school whose granddad was part of the Great Escape.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, I think when you're kind of going back to kids and stuff like that, she was explaining this to the kids and they just looked so not arsed. And I was just like, you don't realise how big a piece of history that is, especially within, Britain and whatnot.
Yeah.
But these kids were just like, oh, does he play Fortnite? It's just like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The guys just escaped. Well, yeah, they all got captured again. But very, 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 very impressive. She brought like a little folder in of some letters that he wrote and stuff like that and some pictures of inside the camp. And I was like mesmerised. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's the sort of thing where like kids, they just don't know. Again, like we were saying, kids don't know better. They don't know what they're missing until years later. They'll probably have a little memory and go, I wish I paid attention to that. That sounded fascinating.
Yeah. They had a guy come into the school who climbed Mount Everest, right?
Wow.
And before he started doing these like mad jobs or challenges, should I say, he used to be an ammunitionist. I don't know if that's the right. Basically, used to build bombs and bullets and all the rest of it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
For the army, and then he got to a point where he was like,
I'm
And the
glad you
guy's like,
added for the army, because otherwise,
just
for private organisations,
yeah, it was just selling them at a
hobbyists.
local
Yeah,
market.
Danny, I'll boots
Homemade
out.
bullets, anybody? Homemade bullets, 3 for £1. He, yeah, he's mid-30s now, this guy, and he got to a point where he was like, my job is not making any positive impact on the world whatsoever. So he was like, why am I doing this? Hung up the the gun making factory, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
and started doing like these mad challenges. So he climbed Everest, and that was one of them. And then when he came into the school, the lad I was working with, who at the time was didn't have a lot of positive role models in his life, and very, very difficult behaviour, and just a bit of a tearaway, right?
yeah,
I'd worked with the lad for a bit, so like he understood me and I understood him, and I briefed him on the fact this person was coming in, because like new arrivals can kind of be a little bit like suspect at times.
right.
But if I say they're all right, then 9 times out of 10 he's like, all right, cool. If you've okayed him, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
So I said, this guy's coming in who's climbed Mount Everest, and he was like, all right, did he get to the top? And I said, well, I'm not sure if he got to the top. And he went, well, if he didn't get to the top, I'm not interested. And I was just remember thinking, fuck it, you've probably not even been up Snowdon, you know what I mean? And the base camp was like 17,000 feet. And this guy had a whole presentation of like clips and everything. And it was like, I was mesmerized by it. But again, like some of the kids were just like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? This guy's incredible. Literally showing you, well, you're not live footage, but his personal footage stood on top of the highest mountain in the world, and like dressing up the dangers of the death zone, so to speak. Yeah, and the kids were just like, "When's break?" And just like, Christ Almighty,
Oh man, tiny little heathens.
Yeah. It's like we should all climb it and then just leave about 4 of you there.
Yeah. You'll have a story to tell when you're older, and you'll have learnt some respect.
Yeah. When's break time? When you get off the mountain, that's when it is.
Yeah. When you find your way back.
This is what I mean. This is why I can't work in a school forever, because I can't deal with. Well, I can deal with it. I know I can't tolerate it forever. Like parents that fail to acknowledge that their kid has a behavior problem. That's like, oh my God. Or even worse, the ones that self-diagnose their kids with like autism or ADHD. And you're just like, if you stick that on them, that doesn't excuse their behavior.
No, of course.
And it's like, well, I've Googled it. It's like, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, I had, because I used to work in a music shop, and there was this kid that used to come in, and he'd just run around and sort of like grab everything, hit everything, and it was a twat. And his mum used to come in with him, and he was so rude to her, like all the time. I always just thought, what a little prick. And he came in at some point, and he started sort of picking cymbals up and moving them about, and I was like, can you not do that? Because like I'm gonna have to put them all back and clean them. And his mum went, oh, sorry, it's just like that because he's got OCD. And I was like, it's not. And it's what are you talking about? Like
OCD,
that's not an
OCD
excuse.
was like where they like things in a certain spot, and they have little rituals. But
it wasn't even that though.
No.
It was just a dickhead.
Yeah, he's got OCD.
Like he may have some element of OCD, but he ultimately is a prick.
No, he's got sticky hands. That's what he's got.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever have kids?
Yeah, I believe I would.
Yeah. How old are you anyway, Si?
35.
35, fucking hell. Do you know what I had? You don't look 35 at all.
Thank you.
And I say that because do you know an actor called David Eagle?
I know the name.
He's a very funny lad. He's a folk musician, professional folk singer. Plays in like a trio and a comedian. Started back in 2018, but I had him on the podcast yesterday, right? You should actually get him on yours. He's great. He's a funny guy, and he's full of stories. But essentially, he's a blind musician and comedian, right?
Right.
And he said to me yesterday he was 35, and I was like, again, I thought the guy was like late 20s, maybe early 30s, but you don't look 35, and so does David Eagle. He doesn't look 35, but your listeners aren't going to know who David is unless you listen to his podcast or my podcast.
Yeah, go and listen to yours. Yeah, sure. Yeah, how old are you?
47.
Yeah, you look it.
No, I'm 26. I'm 27 in August.
Oh, well, you look 47, so that is.
I thought, look, you bought that. You bought me as a 40-year-old
No,
man.
no, no, no,
Nice.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I
I
go
knew you.
cycling on the
I knew you were
weekends.
younger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you?
Um,
Would you have young ones?
I
That sounds
would,
weird.
but I
Would
wouldn't
you?
have them for probably the next 6-7 years.
Yeah, yeah,
So, my dad was 38 when he had me, right?
yeah,
And my mum was 35, which back then was like, this is probably not wise that you have a baby,
yeah,
okay? But it's fine, I was the last to be born, and after that, my mum was like, enough's enough.
yeah,
But yeah, I think if I would have kids, it would just be later on in life, and I think because having worked with kids for the past, 3.5 years, and before that, I was coaching in schools and stuff. So
Oh,
I've,
okay.
I've spent a lot of time working around kids.
Yeah,
But more so in the, recently anyway, with kids that have like serious behavior problems. My mind always drifts to what if you've got a kid that does have, like just a really shit attitude or something like that.
yeah,
And I understand environment plays a big part in a kid's upbringing, but at the end of the day, they're still your responsibility. So
yeah, absolutely.
at the moment, that responsibility is like a dog is enough right now,
Yeah,
and yeah, when I'm 35, like he'll only have like 4 years left. So that could be freedom after that, I might be like, no kids, no dog.
yeah, yeah. It's too
I'll
late
just
now.
be I'll just be the uncle that shows up and tells all the other parents like, hey, I went water skiing the other day, and they're just
Yeah,
like, we've not been out the house in weeks.
yeah. I mean, I think Mick Jagger had a kid at like 70 or something like that.
Yeah, but
Or
that's
Ronnie
Mick
Wood, one
Jagger.
of
You know
those.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, who the fuck is going to want to shag me at 70
yeah.
odd? I mean, that
Hey, man.
guy.
You never know. If you
Hey,
look
mate,
47 now, then you'll look at least 140 by then.
I think that's daft having a kid. If you're a man in your 70s having a child, I mean,
Yeah, if you're not going to see it even reach
yeah,
pubescence, then
yeah, that's like what you're going to get it for your 10th birthday, an invitation to the wake. You're like,
yeah,
but yeah, it's more so now people have kids later on in life, but I
yeah,
see myself being a dad, definitely, but I don't see it being for a while.
yeah. And will it be with your girlfriend, or do you intend to move on?
Do you know what? I definitely see it with Poppy. I've got no. We've been together 8 years, me and my girlfriend. Man,
Have
we've been
you?
together a long time. Yeah, yeah.
Blimey, since you're 18.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. Only long-term relationship I've had.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
And
Before
like,
that, that'd be weird.
yeah, there was a few along the way,
Also,
but she didn't find out about them.
during that,
yeah,
it's
yeah, they all left me. But yeah, like when we first got together, there was no big expectation for us both to be like, kind of that like the one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We were just like, we'll just see what happens. And yeah, as I say, 8 years later, a flat, then a house, then a dog. We're still together,
Yeah, those are they're the big ones.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and literally the only next challenge is children. So
yeah. And do you know what? What if it gets there and I'm firing blanks? Jesus Christ!
buy one, buy a kid.
Yeah. Or steal one, probably
Steal
cheaper.
one. Yeah, that's the yeah.
Working in a school is probably
yeah. Well, you got
perks.
got a lot of access.
Yeah, pick the best
Yeah.
one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can cherry pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But have you seen their SAT score? Like,
Yeah.
this person is going to pay us back in the future. This would be great. It's a good shout.
Yeah.
I could probably swindle. We could, another kid from maybe year 3. Let's not go reception. Let's have them, potty trained and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
Let's get
sure.
the kids that can make their own packed lunch. Let's think
Smart.
ahead.
Yeah.
By the way, for the benefit of the listener, I do have a DBS, and I am 100% legitimate, able to work around children. So
it's got a DBS that proves that he hasn't been caught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually, because the podcast that I do is about teaching.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not just like my what I talk about, but I had Brendan Rees on, who told me his friend worked as a teacher and printed he got a teaching qualification off eBay. So he wasn't actually a qualified teacher, but he got so he ended up working in school for 3 years, and then they asked to check his qualification, and he then got one off eBay, which is like almost slightly worrying. But then is it a bit of a disservice to teachers that you do all this training, but effectively I think if you're a people person and you can work with people, then you can teach. I've seen people that, are qualified teachers, and you go, your style just doesn't suit,
you shouldn't be in this
relaying
job.
information. Yeah, because you've got to be able to like be interesting and actually hold people's attention. And and if you are a robot, the kids aren't gonna relate to that. But yeah, so effectively, if you do want a DBS, I imagine you could buy one off someone.
Yeah, I've got one. I used to teach. I used to teach drums at school. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How many years ago was this?
I only stopped about 2 years ago, if that.
Right, what year groups?
Well, I taught. Well, I mean, I once taught a man who was in his 60s, but from I think the youngest kid I had was 6 or 7, something like that. Quite young. It's like year 1.
That's cool.
Like
and then
like
you were just doing it inside a school, people coming in and out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. A few different
enjoy
schools. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, but it is mentally and emotionally draining because it's one of those things like a lot of the kids, especially when you're teaching in secondary school, a lot of those kids are only there to get out of lessons.
Mm.
And then younger than that, in primary schools, a lot of them just don't retain information. And it's quite tough. Like I'm good. You can adapt your teaching style to sort of different kids in that, but ultimately, if they're not going to remember something, they're not going to remember something. It doesn't matter how much you sort of get them to enjoy it.
They tend to send the kids that have like a bit of a aggression to drumming in the places I've worked at.
Yeah. Well, I had
give them sticks.
Yeah. I had a beautiful story of there was a kid who I went to go and teach at a school. It's a really rough school in Waltham Abbey. And I say really rough. Like I think I may have only seen the rough side of it, but I was told that it wasn't amazing. But I taught this kid, and on his first lesson, he came in and he was 100% off his face on coke, and he was like 14, 15. But like, there's no way that he wasn't. I've worked in bars. I've seen it. And he was a bit of a problem child, and it'd sort of always get into arguments. But then as soon as he started playing drums, I was teaching there for like 2 years, and he suddenly started concentrating and learnt to play drums, and he was doing really well, progressing quite quickly. And apparently he started getting better in lessons as well. And it's just it's amazing.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But got better in lessons. He wasn't doing lines on the table. It was
yeah.
Cutting it up with a ruler.
Yeah, mixing it with chalk from the chalkboard.
Yeah. Just them little like symmetric, them little mirrors you get given when you do symmetry. Laid it out on one of them. They're like, "Can I have my mirror back?" He's like, "In a second." Yeah. Jesus Christ! I know you're trying to pass your sats, but I'm trying to get through this. Okay.
I had a heavy night, man. I just need a bump.
Yeah, we got PE next, right? Do you want to know why I'm so fast? Exactly. That's cool. That's a nice story. Because I suppose I'm not cynical when it comes to kids at all. I think some kids just need a level of positivity in their life. But what I really struggle to tolerate is those that will moan when you've given them a solution, yet they choose to carry on moaning and basically don't. They want you to do it for them.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where I go, well, someone else who is struggling but yet willing to give it a go, why would I waste my time on you when I can go and help them?
Yeah, of course.
That's almost, I think, something you've got to come to terms with, i.e. the kid, as time goes on, and whether they take enough notice to go, all right, I realise I've got to put something into this for others to, help me. But I've said to every kid I've worked with, like, you can't push someone that doesn't want to move. So if you want to move, I'll help you out. But if you don't, then, I'm not going to babysit you, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That is nice when it works out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's lovely. But I mean, that was so. I taught at 2 times in my life. That when I was 19, and I was probably too young to appreciate the job that I had.
Right.
It was a very good job, and I was working for a couple of agencies, and I stopped doing that to go back to college. But it turns out I could have carried on doing that on the side and sort of kept in, and I wish I had. But you live and learn. But then I went back to doing it sort of entirely off my own back. A few years ago. But the school that I was working at, I was working at a few different schools at times, but at that point, the school that I was working at was horrible. Like the the communication between the staff was terrible,
Right.
and like it just made me hate it.
Mm.
So that's why I got out.
That's it. When you've got bad staff, that's like you'd rather have bad kids over bad staff every day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because at least when the staff give you the support, it makes you want to try, and then chances are you will
you
find
work with the staff, not with the kids.
Yeah.
The kids are there, but you deal more with internal issues, I would say.
Yeah.
Easier to have 6 or 7 good staff on your side against 50 kids than 30 kids who are really, really well behaved, but 6 or 7 staff who are all very snipey and undercutting of each other, should I say.
Yeah. I had a flashback a minute ago of there was a parent of one of these kids, because they'd come into the school at the end of the day to come collect their kids, and there was one kid who I was teaching. So like you get paid from the parents, but normally the parents would pay the school and then the school would pay you. But the school was so disorganised that they made me get the money directly from the parents. So like it's an absolute nightmare, and I didn't get paid half the time. Again, why I left.
Yeah.
But at one time, this guy came in, just shouted at me, saying, "Why isn't my kid getting better at drums?" Rah, 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 rah. And he's going on for ages. And I was like, I mean, he doesn't turn up to some of his lessons. Like, I'll go and get him, but then sometimes he doesn't even come, or he just says he doesn't want to. And he's like, yeah, well, then you should be bringing the kids back. And I was like, I can't pick them up and carry them. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you need to tell your kid to go to the lessons. And he's like, no, you should be doing that. I'm like, I don't think I should actually. Like that's outrageous. And then he's going like, when he is at lessons, why aren't you learning? I was like he is to an extent, but he's refusing to learn half the time, or he's getting up and running around the room. Like, what am I supposed to do? Tackle him?
Yeah, that's one option.
Yeah,
no, that's true though. I think it's different because you're almost what you're doing is like an extracurricular activity with them, isn't it? So I would have assumed if a kid is signed up for that, they want to go.
You would think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's when I've never had a parent go mental at me.
That's the only time it's happened, to be fair.
That's the only time you've had it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel uncomfortable if a parent did go mental at me. I think because I know it takes a lot for me to lose my head, like really lose my temper.
Yeah.
But because of the circumstances of the kids I work with, if a parent did go off at me and they were like, I don't know, for instance, saying that I wasn't doing my job, my role while working at the school with their kid, I'd just be like, well, I'd just lay out the bare bones of like what their kid does in terms of their behaviour and what is and isn't acceptable. And it's like, you tell me if I'm still the dickhead in this situation.
Yeah.
And if they fail to see that, then I go, well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it? And like sometimes I think there's parents that if you've had a kid who, this hasn't happened to me directly, but I've heard of it, where a kid will be pulled up on his behaviour. Parents are informed. Parents then question the kid when they get home that day, and then the next day ring in and say that essentially it never happened. I've spoken to him. He said he's not done that, and the school are the bad guys. But then when it happens again and then again and again and again, you think, what narrative are you giving that child?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can deny to the point that it just goes away. And it's like the idea of learning to accept responsibility and sitting in your fuck up. Like, I think that's so valuable. I don't think kids are allowed to fail enough, to be honest. And because you failure is like feedback, you know what I mean? You get so much information, especially like when you're gigging. You do a 10-minute set and you die in your ass. There is so much within that 10 minutes you can change and, adapt that you wouldn't consider if you'd smashed it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you think, well, I'm never going to do that joke again, but you still have to think about it, And if you don't think about it, then, well, I don't think you should be doing comedy, because if you've said for 10 years, that crowd were funny tonight, then, maybe it's your set's just not funny.
Yeah.
It's not the crowd. It's like, you're just not doing the work.
Yeah.
And that translates to a kid with their behavior. Like, if you're dicking about all the time and you're realizing you're getting pulled up on things and yet you continually do it, but then won't accept the failure of that, then, you're not moving forwards. You're just stagnating, but getting older.
Yeah.
You need to get your ass in gear, so to speak. How many times have I said so to speak on this? Feels like a
I don't
parents'
know.
evening,
I'll count it up if you want. I'll do a tally.
Yeah, I think I've said it at least 3-4 times. But yeah, if a parent went mad at me, I think I'd be pretty like calm. Most recently, I had a kid call me a pussyhole. Yeah, which I went to go and help him off the ground, and he looked up at me, put his hand in the air, made eye contact with me, and went, "Help me up, pussyhole." And then I was like, "What?" I said, "Did you just call me a pussyhole?" And he was like, "No, I wasn't saying it to you. I was saying it to my friends." And I was like, "Your mates weren't around you. You had eye contact with me, and you had your hand in the air." I was like, "You might as well have pointed at me, right?" Yeah, I wasn't saying it to you. And I was like, "You're bullshitting me." Like I said, "You must think I'm a massive dickhead if you think you're getting away with that." And then he kept denying it. Spoke to his dad, who I know his dad from other members of staff have said like he can be quite difficult, right?
Right.
And I was just straight away, just like, this is what your lad said. And that's that. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really not happy about that." And I said, "Yeah, well, appreciate it." He spoke to him and all the rest of it, and the lad apologized the next day. But I was like, I'd have more respect for you if you actually just owned up to the fact you said it to me.
Yeah.
It's like, "Nah, didn't say it to you though, did I?" I was like, you did.
Yeah.
I was like, so if I look away now and said your name and then insert whatever insult, but I wasn't saying it to you, it's like, yeah, you could do that. It's like, oh God, effectively you're missing your dinner. All right, go and sit in the classroom.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
You sound like you should be on that. So is it Educating Yorkshire? Is that the
Education Yorkshire? Well, that would different
Is that the
county.
Well, yes,
yeah,
I know that.
I'd go on it. First bit of TV, why not?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm not cynical when it comes to teaching at all. Like I enjoy my job and I enjoy working with kids. I think some kids just need that level of positivity, but there are some kids that things are sugar-coated to a point where you're like, this is just ineffective. You're giving them like a placebo lesson every day. But I don't know, some kids learn faster than others, and some kids just, never learn. Like you meet some numpties as an adult and you think, oh, I wonder what they were like as kids, who were probably worse, They've just now got a driving license and maybe a little bit more patience. But yeah, I think I've worked more with boys that have behaviour problems than girls. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a dickhead in school. I knew where the line was and I pushed it. In terms of being cheeky, but I'd never tell a teacher to fuck off or anything like that.
No, same.
And then like basic things of like time and a place and like understanding what is and isn't acceptable. Some kids just like, just don't get it. And then when you pull them up, they look at you like, what? You're like, you've just like strangled a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was in the way. It was like, all right, okay. So you're in the way now. Let me strangle you. No, you can't do that. Well, you're in the way. Well, you can't do that. Well, why did you do it to her? Well, she was in the way. Do you understand the point I'm making here? And the kid's like looking at you. You're just like, if I strangled you, it'd probably make my job easier, because then you wouldn't be in for a few days. But yeah, I'm quite real with the kids, I would say.
Yeah. Let's just hope that none of your colleagues ever listen to this podcast.
Do you know what? The head teacher of the place I work at listens to my podcast.
Does he?
Yeah, it was just a shit.
Talk about the same sort of stuff.
Big fan. Yeah, it's like I'm not like trying to plug mine here, but because we've spoken so much about teaching, because my podcast is about sharing anonymous stories from teachers, so they've got the freedom to get things off their chest and effectively say what they want to say. And their stories that they're sent in. So like the first one was about a kid who, in the middle of a science lesson, sex education lesson, went up to his teacher and said, "Sir, do you know when you ejaculate?" And his teacher was like, in the context of the lesson was like, yeah, like, what do you mean? He said, well, can you make it happen or does it just happen? And he was like, trying to figure out what's a way to answer this without incriminating himself or, effectively saying to a kid, well, you can wank or you can, have a wet dream. But he was like, well, you can and you can't, like sometimes you have a wet dream, and he dressed it up in teacher language. And then this kid was like, okay, well, I think I ejaculated at a bus stop this morning.
So
the teachers then got to kind of get to the bottom of what's happened in this boy's pants. So the teacher's telling the events of the story while overlaying his thoughts of what were going through his head at the time, and like, you know, what he wished he would have said in hindsight.
Yeah.
So effectively, like, that's the tone of all the stories that get sent to me for the podcast.
That's
and
incredible.
yeah, it's just because it's anonymous, like, it's quite freeing because I'm reading it, but the teacher themselves, as I've got an outlet. But
Yeah.
most of the stories I've had, teachers have gone, "Oh, we've needed something like this," or I'm really enjoying I suppose the silliness of it, because going back to the earlier point that at this moment in time, the world of teaching is a little bit doom and gloom for a lot of people. And I think it's been a nice outlet for teachers, especially, to just have a bit of a laugh and not have to worry about, I don't know, homeschooling bits and bobs, and parents who are stressing out because their kids are behind and stuff like that. But yeah, you'll have to, if anyone is listening and has enjoyed any of the bollocks that I've said for the past 40 minutes, do feel free to check out the Staff Room podcast. I've got comedian guests on every week. But that's the long and short of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, I've got a long list of podcasts to listen to, but I'll get around to it. It sounds like fun.
Oh, it's good, man. It's good. It's I'm nearly finished with the first term, right?
Right. Okay.
So I'm gonna do 20 episodes and include within that an award show, which is like
nice.
Student of the Year and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna have a bit of time off, recoup some new stories from teachers, and then go again with a new term. So
nice. Do you record them sort of much in advance?
Yeah, initially I kind of banked about 4 of them, and then started scheduling them. But I recorded one yesterday with David Eagle. That's going out on Friday. I'm recording one tomorrow with Josh Pugh, and that'll go out the following Friday. So a week in advance, something like that. It's with you doing your podcast, it's very time consuming. I really enjoy the conversations and the production of it. But I think all in all, it probably takes about 6 hours to do one episode.
Including recording.
That's the editing, social media, recording.
Yeah. It is quite time consuming.
And because it's effectively free, you're not getting paid for it. But I don't mind that. I enjoy doing it. I just want to. I don't want to do it a disservice and dilute the show if time is of the essence.
Have you got a Ko-fi page or anything?
What's a Ko-fi page?
It's one of those
like Patreon.
Yeah, sort of, but like without the rewards. It's where people just send you money.
I don't have a Ko-fi page. I have a Patreon page, which
you do?
Zero content on it yet. I've got all the content banked up, but I don't know. It's had like, it's got a decent amount of listeners. The podcast, but I feel cheeky saying to people at this moment in time, come and basically pay me money per month. When I'm still, I think at the moment the podcast is good, but I know it can be better. So I think for the second term I'll get the Patreon in place, because I've got to recoup some stories again and get the the piggy bank back up to a decent number. But it's just a lot of banging on the drums, like getting teachers to send stuff in. But if you know any teachers are listening, please do send a story in to the Staff Room podcast. The email address is staffroompod@gmail.com. Check out any of the episodes. It's 100% anonymous. No one that has sent anything in has been sacked. And it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh. So if you know some, please do send them my way.
I will. Yes, I will indeed. Have you had any stories in that would get people very, very much in trouble?
Defo. 100%. The episode 3, I believe, with Josh Jones. It was episode 3. It was a story that came in from a teacher about another member of staff they worked with who was a head teacher, and this head teacher basically got the job in this. So this school they worked in was an SEMH school, which is a social, emotional, mental health school.
Right.
It's like, it's not necessarily mainstream, but the kids in there are very, very, very challenging. And the person that sent the story in had been working at the school for a while, was a very respected member of staff, was pipped for a promotion and all these, positive things. and then there was the head teacher of the school ended up having to take an absence of leave, and a new head teacher was put in place, and this new head teacher was like Miss Trunchbull, right? But yeah, it was just not this member of staff and the head teacher didn't gel at all. And the head teacher was she made an 8-year-old boy stand outside in the snow with no shoes on as punishment for 5 minutes. And the kid couldn't attend school the next day because he had essentially like burns on his feet because of the snow.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And what century was this?
Like 5 years ago.
I mean, unreal.
Yeah.
If you told me that a Victorian teacher had sent you that story, then that would make sense to some extent. That's horrendous.
That's like, yeah, that's a snippet of part of the story that they sent through. That was quite a long one that they sent me for episode 3. But it just, the member of staff was complaining about the head teacher they worked with and their teaching methods. And it was interesting. But then I've had other ones where, you know, some teachers have kind of vented on students that they've had that have just been like, this kid's an idiot, but not being very polite about them, but in a very humorous way.
Yeah.
And then other ones where like real toe curling moments where the teachers put their foot in it massively. And if they've sent it in, I think it's clear that they're able to laugh about it because they're at least sharing it. But there was one on episode 2, which Jack Carroll and Pete Selwood are the guests on. And the teacher, I don't want to give it away, but essentially the teacher's a supply teacher. He goes into the class, bites off way more than they can chew. And it comes back to bite him in the arse.
Okay. Interesting.
Sharpish. But they're all different types of stories. Kids that have like just dropped their pants in the middle of a lesson. There was a kid who went on a shitting spree around the school. In
toilets?
No, just like corridors. I'm trying to think. I'll tell you which one I'm episode number 10, I had a guy on called Alex Price, who was a teacher himself a few years ago. He taught in North Wales, and he was in the news a few months ago because the BBC ran a story on the fact that he was fired from his job and struck off from teaching for 2 years because of an anonymous blog that he wrote came to light at the school that he worked in.
I heard about this.
And I had him on as a guest, and it's an interesting episode. I will give a bit of a word of warning. The audio for it on his side wasn't very good because it was coming through his webcam, and I learnt my lesson. I should have got him to have a external recording on his phone, but that's my fault. But it was interesting chatting to him because as soon as I read the news story, I was like, there's way more to this than meets the eye, because the news story was really funny because it basically had punchlines from the blog post that he'd written.
Right.
And when I spoke to him, he gave a full story of what was going on at the school and what happened with the blog and stuff like that. And this school was just like unbelievably corrupt.
Oh, wow.
And essentially in comparison to what this teacher had done with an anonymous blog morally compared to what this school were doing to members of staff, like contractually and, swapping things around and all the rest of it with no, just not being very transparent. I was like, I think it's definitely now in a culture where like cancel culture is so massive and people are very quick to point the finger. It was interesting for people to get the full picture. So that was an interesting episode, but we didn't necessarily share an anonymous story. It was more Alex's story, and the episode's called The Provoked Pedagogue, which was the name of his blog.
Right.
But yeah, the audio on his side, it is a bit muffly, but it was an interesting listen. I would just say put your headphones in if you're listening to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, I heard all about that story and was incensed at the time. So yeah. I'll be interested to hear that.
He's doing very well for himself now, and to hear him like. It's clear that what he was writing was a joke, right? And it wasn't meant in a malicious way. But the school and the teacher unions have tried to spin it in such a way that he is the villain, But I think after, and don't let me sway you on this. I think after listening to the episode, it'd be very difficult not to look at the circumstances of everything and go, actually, maybe he's not the dickhead in this situation.
Yeah.
which is my opinion on it, but I don't know if that teases you, go and go make your own mind up.
Yeah, nice. Now, did you start that during the lockdown then?
Yeah, I started it in September. So I started like the planning of it in September, launched it in January.
Nice.
And
January this year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, felt like it's longer ago.
Yeah, no, it's I'm 14 episodes on Friday.
Yeah, nice.
So I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed doing a podcast. I just don't want to dilute the show because I'm starting to burn through the stories that I've got. And I don't want to have weeks where because the format is like I get a guest on, we have a chat about their school days, share the story, have a bit of a laugh, and everyone goes home happy. But I don't want to start diluting the show by just getting guests on and chatting about school and there not being an anonymous story, to share. So I'll get something sorted.
Becoming essentially what this podcast has been.
Yeah. Well, your podcast is comedians chatting over tea, isn't it? So you've got we're doing exactly what it says on the tin.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't want to piss off the staff roomies, should I say?
Yeah. You said that you were writing scripts through lockdown. What were you writing for?
Oh, I wrote a few things. So saddled onto the documentary that I was doing about the guy that lost his sight. I started writing a script about essentially the character was called Miles. He was a travel photographer who picture like National Geographic, that type of guy. Okay. Lives his life out of a bag, travels all around the world and loves what he does. Is essentially diagnosed with a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which essentially means you're gradually going blind.
Right.
And he moves back home to said place, Manchester, doesn't tell his family that he's going blind, but his family are surprised to see him because he's been away for so many years and there were reasons to why he's left, but now they're unsure as to why he's returned. And it's because essentially the ground beneath his feet is swallowing him up and he doesn't know what to do. So, he's got no other option to go home and figure out his next step. So that was the script.
Wow. Is that fiction or?
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Nice. Is there anything happening with that?
No, not as of yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. Well, that sounds like the sort of thing that would be very interesting to see. So,
well, thank you very much. Hopefully, I've kind of put it on the back burner for the time being, but it's a difficult skill writing scripts to stand up because it's not necessarily a comedy. It's it's got laughs within it, but it's more like the laughs aren't obvious. It's like the interactions between family members and that kind of real life feel to it. But yeah, I must have rewrote the fucking thing. Double figures, But I enjoy doing it. But at this moment in time, I feel like it's become a bit of an echo chamber when I look at it, So I've got to give it a bit of space and
room to
breathe.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
I might have be telling the story completely the wrong way round. But yeah, it's an idea that I've played with for about 4 years, and then across that 4-year period, I'd done a lot of research, attended support groups for people that had lost their sight, and to really cop a feel for what that world is like. But yeah, at this moment in time, it's on the back burner. So if anyone steals it, right, I'll batter you.
It means it's holding a knife. It looks serious.
Exactly.
Yeah,
smash you up with me tangerine.
I do just want to say, for the sake of the listeners and the sake of the tea company that sent me this tea that I've drunk, because I don't generally sort of talk much about tea, even though it's a tea podcast, but it doesn't come up that much. That being said, this one is from a company called Good and Proper Tea, who are one of the latest companies to have sent me just a massive box of tea. And it's an independent company, and they're really, really good. They've got a great sort of story behind their existence. So I would recommend going to check that out on their Instagram.
Okay.
But this Rooibos, very, very good. It describes it as a honey sweet caffeine-free cup with notes of dried cherries and vanilla. And honestly, you can taste all of that, and it is lovely.
That's good.
So,
I would recommend the lemon and ginger stir fry tea that I've had.
yeah.
If you're into your Chinese food, but you like it, warm. But yeah, who's eating cold Chinese food? What savage is doing that?
Some monster. Yeah.
But yeah, I've enjoyed my tea. I'll
Nice.
say a coffee man. I've not even had to have a coffee this morning because I didn't want to ruin my palate.
Yeah.
That's how prepared I was for your podcast.
Yeah, I respect that. That's cool, man. Yeah. Very, very much appreciated. Try the other ones that I sent you as well. I can't remember what I sent you, but
yeah, I will do. My
I'm sure
girlfriend's
they're all
a big loose leaf tea fan, and she's pinched a few.
Oh, nice.
She was like, "What ones do you think you won't drink?" And I think it was about 5 in there, something like that. I said, "But you take the ones you want, and I'll see what's left." And lemon and ginger, that was slipped under the radar from her. Hey?
Yeah. You wouldn't think that'd be sort of particularly inviting, or if it was just sort of good for your throat, that sort of thing. But
well, that's I've been a bit under the weather the past week or so. So I think that's what drew me to the lemon and ginger.
Yeah.
But it's worth a dream.
Yeah, nice, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
But it is total bollocks when people say if you're hot, have a hot drink, so it'll cool you down. That is total bollocks.
Absolutely.
It's like, I'm sweating my tits off here.
That is because I have some tea emergency questions.
Okay.
And that is one of them that comes up. Not every time. I ask different ones each time, but that one comes up quite often, and it is bollocks. It's I think it's Paul Savage said that like the closest that it could be is that it makes you sweat, and sweat is designed to cool you down. So
yeah, well,
possibly, but
it is bollocks, sweaty bollocks.
It doesn't regulate body temperature like people say. It's nonsense.
Total sweaty bollocks.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Sweaty bollocks or just
yeah, both. I like it. Right, so I've got a few questions that aren't necessarily tea based, but they're leading on from sort of other conversations that I've had. What is the worst way you've ever been introduced to stage? Because I was once introduced to stage as CD Abez.
Okay.
Because I can imagine people getting your surname wrong.
Yeah, okay. I've had people abandon my surname. Just go like Harry. Okay, I've had that. And I have it saved on my phone. In fact, I'll play it. Right? I'll play it because it's only a couple of seconds. But he doesn't run it anymore. But there's essentially a guy in Bolton who is called Lee Tomo, who used to run Bolton Comedy Club. And I've saved this in my phone because it brings me so much joy. This is the funniest and the funniest and the worst I've been introduced. Okay, so I'll play it for you now.
Yeah, that's very good. He's been, it's quite recently actually. He's Harry Stachini, we love him so much. We might invite
Harry Stachini, ladies and gentlemen, Harry Stachini to the stage. And I've never heard the second name being pronounced Stachini before. The correct pronunciation is Stachini. A lot of people say Stachini or if you Lee Tomo, Harry Stachini.
I'm glad you said that because I would have introduced you as Stachini otherwise.
Yes, Stachini. Yeah, CH is a K. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I'm not one of them that's like I am mighty about it. I've just been aware though. Was I meant to be recording anything my end?
No. It's fine.
Thank fuck. I was thinking I've not pressed anything, and not that I've given you gold, but still,
I can't believe you're wasting my time, man.
Yeah.
No. There's some people do sometimes, but I've had a few accidents in the last year of sort of missing people because I started recording this before, like in the year before lockdown. So
right.
So sort of going to recording online was a bit of a change of pace, and as such, I did have some accidents and just didn't record their end, but I'm fastidious about it now, so we're all good.
That's a great word, fastidious.
Oh, thank you.
Does that mean like on it?
Yeah. Like I'll check, do all the checks, and
look at the difference in our vocab. Fastidious, and are you on it?
Yeah. Are you quite with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry, he's fastidious. He's what?
Yeah.
He's on it. Cool.
That's funny. Yeah, that's great. Harry Stachini.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Stachini. That's a pretty good rip of it.
Yeah, that's funny. Now, I had Lloyd Langford on the last episode, and he was telling me that because I asked him about a couple of the things that were written on his Wikipedia page, and he's got someone that goes onto his Wikipedia page and just changes details. He said his favourite of which was that someone said that he used to be a blacksmith.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. What is your favourite lie that's been told about you?
Favourite lie that's been told about me?
Yeah.
Ooh. Within the comedy world?
Just in general.
My dad told me the only reason I was allowed into the family is because they had another son before me. His name was Michael. And he chose to leave to allow me to come in. And as a result of that, my mum and dad love Michael so deeply because he basically gave his space up in the family for me. But he couldn't live with us. So that was always brought up. It was like, if my dad might go, Michael, sorry, I mean Harry, just, Michael doesn't exist, right? But the lengths to which that lie has gone to, when my mum and dad divorced and they were moving out the house, there was a family phone book, and whatever possessed me to look under S, right? I don't know. But under S was Michael Stachini and then a number, which my dad has obviously written in years ago. With the idea that Harry might one day come across this. And I did. And, I have to credit the man for the lengths in which he'll go to cause emotional damage.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the best one, I would say. The fact that I have a brother who gave up his space in the family for me to allow to be in the family.
That's incredible. That's a deep lie as well to add, like, there's every chance that you'll find things. Like, can you imagine, I mean, God forbid, when he dies, if you read his will and there's stuff left to Michael.
Yeah, that would be fucking brutal.
That'd be incredible.
But yeah, it even gets brought up now. Like, if my dad's trying to wound me up, he'll call me Michael. And yeah, hey, I love funny. The guy. You got to have thick skin in our family.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, amazing. In fact, that's so good that I almost don't want to ruin it with another question. But I've been having a lot of weird dreams through lockdown. Well, no, I say that. I have a lot of weird dreams all the time. Okay. But in particular, I think a lot of people were reporting that their dreams got really weird during lockdown. And at one point, I woke up in the middle of the night to Google what is the coldest that Julie Waters has ever been. I didn't find out the answer, but what is the weirdest question that you've asked as a result of a dream? You can also reinterpret that and say what's like the most your mind has been changed about something. I can't remember who it was. It was someone on a few episodes ago who said that they used to not like something, they dreamt about it, and now they like it. Who that was.
My girlfriend tells me a lot about her dreams, which I believe is quite common, for it within most couples. But I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I do dream, but I'm not. If I have like a mad one, I'll tend to keep it to myself. Right? Yeah. Because I'm like, I've got to figure this shit out before I start telling people about it. Yeah. I can't just unleash this and then be like, okay, I'm not sitting next to you on the bus. But what's changed my mind as a result of a dream? Imagine if it was like, I went to bed and woke up and decided it's probably best to not be racist,
Yeah, it's a good dream to have, to be fair.
I changed. I literally had a dream. And come morning, I was like, I'm going to take the burning cross out of the garden. This is fine. No, I don't know. In answer to your question, I've had dreams that have been very vivid, like thinking there's people in the house. I call out in my sleep quite a lot. My girlfriend tells me that.
What sort of things?
Most recently, I remember waking up in the middle of the night. This was within the dream, proper Inception type shit.
Okay.
And that there's someone above me strangling me. Could have been the boy I work with, I don't know. But
you were in his way, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I knew I'd get you back, sir. Get out of my house. But yeah, he was strangling me, this figure, whatever it was. And I called out to say, leave us alone. And my girlfriend Poppy said to me, she was like, that was really sweet. And I took the piss saying, imagine if I'd called out like, take her instead. But yeah, like that's it. Yeah, even in my dreams, funny. I'm not a shit house. You know what I mean? We had the house alarm went off on Friday night at like 2:30 in the morning, right? And we got burgled a few years ago. I told this on stage on Sunday, but the house alarm went off, and like how loud it is and how quickly I got out of bed surprised me. Like, because I grabbed the bar from under the bed and started making my way downstairs. But I got out of bed at such a rate that like I'd slid out the bed, if that made sense. So all my pants had kind of like bunched up at the. I had like no belly button on show. Okay. But this like little bar in my hand, and went into the kitchen, and it was just the dog. But like, I remember thinking halfway down the stairs, like, if there is someone in the house, I really don't know what I'm going to do. But then my girlfriend was very like nonchalant when I went back upstairs. She was like, is everything all right? And I was like, my heart was going at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I said, yeah, everything's fine. But I appreciate the fact that, I said, what would you have done if there was someone in the house? And she was like, I would have put my dressing gown on. I was like, that's your first point of call.
You want to look nice, do your hair.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you shit.
And you're downstairs giving the dog a kicking.
But yeah.
Yeah.
A long answer to a short question.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it. Cool. Right, a bit of wrap up because for many reasons, but not least, I need a toilet, which is how I think 95% of these podcasts end now. Is I just announce that I need the toilet and
that's your tea. Warm, nice warm bladder.
Yeah, exactly.
Elasticated bladder.
Have you got anything that you want to plug, like social media or anything, or projects? Obviously, a podcast.
Yeah, obviously, I'd say the Staff Room podcast is probably the main one, right? So it's on all platforms: Spotify, iTunes, podcasts, like literally everything. If you put in the Staff Room podcast Anchor, right, you'll find any platform you want to listen to it on there. There's new episodes every Friday. The first term will be finishing probably within the next 5-6 weeks. But all the episodes I genuinely think they're good. You know what I mean? The comedian guests that have come on have loved it, and
I've seen a lot of the snippets, and they're very funny.
Oh, well, thank you. And like, you know what I mean? There's like people that being live at the Apollo and stuff like that. There's some credentials, so you're not just getting a guy who, does work in a school, but also does comedy, which is me. But yeah, you can follow me on at Staff Room Pod on Instagram. It's at pod_staff on Twitter, Staff Room Pod on Facebook. And if you want to get me on my socials, that's at Harry Stachini, which is STACHINI. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is at HStachini. And then, I just tend to put all my bits and pieces out on my socials like most people. I run a couple of gigs. I'm on a Sunday and a Wednesday. Sunday in Manchester, Wednesday in Liverpool. So if you want to come and see me, try out some jokes, by all means, come check it out. Or you might have heard this and gone, I switched off after 10 minutes. And if you have, you're a coward, and that's not going to hurt your feelings because you're not here.
Yeah, you're not listening to it. They don't know that you've said that to them.
Yeah.
It's a very empty threat that's like running off up the road and going, yeah, go on in.
Yeah. But if someone gets in touch and say, we've met Michael Stachini, you can fuck right off. Right, okay.
Oh, I really hope someone does.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
But no, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, man. It's been lovely. Been an absolute pleasure.
Hey, well, thank you. I've enjoyed it. It's rarely I get to go on people's podcasts, so I've enjoyed being in the passenger seat.
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice not to do the editing on a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've got some editing to do this afternoon, but I think next time I'm going to get a setup where I don't have to hold the mic, so I can at least peel the orange that I was going to eat. That is now room temperature, which is the worst temperature for an orange, man. I like them so cold.
Do you?
Yeah.
How is this the first time this is coming up?
And enjoy maybe in 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I like them room temperature.
Oh, see, I want them
or slightly chilled.
My face. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like that's sharp, and I've got sensitive teeth.
You like the punishment? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. I like things that kind of have a little bit of pain to them.
Yeah, sure.
But nothing sexual. Just to clarify that before they go, okay, this guy seemed really wholesome, and now he's going down the pain route.
No, not sexual. No, just like if you're having a burger, you put a little bit of glass in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing major. Just a sprinkling of smashed up Stella.
Yeah.
Stella relish.
Amazing. Stellish, if you will.
Yeah, Stellish. There you go. What do you want, mate? Sort of Stellish? Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Thanks very much, man. It's been really lovely. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. And if I'm in Manchester, hopefully I'll pop over for one of your gigs. Yeah,
by all means, if you want to come and do one. Sunday, Wednesday, pick one. You can come and do one. But yeah, I'll see you around on the circuit.
Yes, absolutely. Cool.
And let me know when this is out, because I will share the shit out of it for you.
Yes, I will. I'll let you know. I'll ask for a photo as well, a selfie with your mug, which says H on it, by the way. Now, is that a branded for you, or are you just a big fan of Line of Duty?
That is branded for me, mate. Yeah, that was a mug that my girlfriend bought for me.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
I'm naturally drawn to it.
My wife got me these.
What's that stand for?
The Comedian's Tea Party with Sir Deaves.
That's it almost looks like the name of a news station from like the 70s. That's what I got there. That's cool. See, we're both rocking initials.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for having me on, and I'm gonna go and enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, nice. I'm gonna go to work.
Well, you enjoy the air conditioned, warehouse of Screwfix.
Yeah. If only it was. That's a dream.
Right, look after yourself, mate, and
you
I'll
too, man.
Soon, all right?
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
See you later. Bye. So that was Harry Stachini. Great fun, lovely bloke. I'm sure you will agree, because you'd be mad not to. Don't forget, if you want to follow him on social media, he is on Instagram. He's at Harry Stachini. Twitter, he is at Stachini. His podcast on Twitter is at pod_staff. And on Instagram, he is at staffroompod. And just search for him on Facebook and you'll find him. It's just Harry Stachini. There's not many of them. Don't forget, if you enjoyed a podcast and you want to show your appreciation, you don't know how, maybe you've got a bit of spare change in your pocket, you've had a good time during a lockdown, then chuck us a donation over at kofi.com/sideeves. All of that money goes back into the podcast. We've not had loads of donations so far, and that's absolutely fine, because we don't need them, but it does help me sort of improve the equipment and that sort of thing. And it will help me buy my first load of merch so that I can sell you all that, because that's happening. I got some of the preliminary designs through the other day, and they look great, and I'm very excited to have those with you soon. I've not really got much to plug myself. Got some gigs coming up. Oh, I'm in the process of booking. I'm waiting to hear later this week. I'm booking Faversham Fringe. I'm doing a work in progress show there, which is called Cyclops. So yeah, that's about losing the vision in one of my eyes and sort of getting it back, and the journey that I've been on with that. There's sort of a lot more. Maybe I'm just getting some visual perspective as well. We'll see. I'm writing it. It's not fully written, but it is honestly some of my best work that I've done, and I'm very excited to be bringing it to you. So come and see that if you're in Kent or anywhere near and you want to come and see it. I'm also going to be looking to do some London dates and probably some Essex dates at some point also, and wherever. But, I'm not limited to where I'm going. If you want me to come to where you are, just let me know. Get in touch at teapartypod@gmail.com. That is the letter teapartypod@gmail.com. Right, I'm absolutely boiling. So I'm going to go and turn the fan back on. And, well, I will see you next week. Next week, we're going to have a different guest on to who I said. I was supposed to be recording with Darren Harriott the other day, but his schedule, he's a very, very busy man. So I did announce that last week. It's happening. It's just not happening yet. So that is to come. But in the meantime, I've got some other excellent guests coming up for this week. So you are welcome. Look forward to those. I look forward to seeing you later. Take it easy. Drink a lot of water because it's hot out. You need to keep hydrated. That is important. That's my advice for you. Tell everyone you love them all the time. It's always nice because I love you guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.